Right, so I'm not really sure where we're starting today, but I have a couple of projects to do. Let me show you what I have on my list. Right, so my plan is to come today and remove these mustard greens. I am technically taking them out, but I'm going to call it harvest, and I'm going to remove them all here and plant my 3 eggplants in this little area here, because they will get tall, but not too tall to shade out what comes this side. So against this fence, we planted 3 little tomato plants. And while they're thirsty, they are ultimately settled and are doing okay. But currently, they are being shaded out by this mass of turnips. So it is also my intention to come around and harvest these turnips. Some of them are going to be little, some of them are going to be large. It doesn't matter. Whatever we get, we'll be grateful for, we'll process, we'll figure it out, we'll eat it. In the gap that is now created by the turnips, I hope to remove my 3 largest tomato plants here and put them in. That way I'll have 6 tomato plants and 3 eggplants. Well, at least that's the intention for this area. So if you follow along on Instagram or Facebook, I'm pretty sure you would have seen that we bought some seeds as well as some twine, and Duncan got me a rain gauge. I'll show you that one now quickly. How cool is this? And it's like a pinky purple color, which I've never seen before. We do have to figure out where that's going to go. And then we also got a new ball of twine. Now, I like to use the twine in my garden because it is a natural fiber. And for whatever reason, the plants know and they prefer the natural fibers. So I'm going to use this twine. It weathers, but it holds really well throughout the season. And this ball should last us the season. The plan will be to take the twine and use it on this little like teepee we've made. And then we're also going to run a few strings from this ladder and possibly staple gun them to the top here so that these sweet peas, should they want to, can grow up there. We will in future also be using the twine here to string our tomatoes and potentially run a system to string the other 3 that we're going to plant today. Over here in this corner of the garden, right underneath this lavender, is actually a pea plant that is growing fairly well. So I want to offer it a bit of support today as well and try and encourage it to grow up this archway. And then we're going to try and plant this pea that's also growing really well. It's the same varietal as the one in the ground, so I might go and add it in next door so that they can both grow up to the top of that arch, hopefully, and over. So as you can see, there's lots of things that I want to do. What I'm going to be able to do, I don't know. So come along on the journey. Let's see what we can get done. I think I'm going to start first, however, with harvesting these mustard greens and turnips. Right, so I don't really have much of a plan for this area. I think I'm just going to start one side and start pulling out what I can. I know there will be some of these almost like middle-ish, small-sized turnips. There might be 1 or 2 larger ones amongst them. But in all honesty, I need the space a little bit more than I need the turnips. And this will still be a decent harvest for Duncan and myself. Honestly, I'm smiling as I'm doing this because it's not like I'm getting nothing. It's a decent harvest. Better than what I expected. Turnips actually were one of the first successful harvests I ever had. And it's also why I learned to love them so much, because I had an abundance and I now needed to find a way to eat them. And this just brings me joy, knowing that they're still part of my garden experience. This is going to be a massive turnip. Oh, it's kind of cool. It's even split and healed over. It's a nice looking turnip. Ooh. Nova's not going to be very happy about this scenario. She really liked to lie in the shadows of these plants. Oh, sorry, girly. Let me just grab my bunch of turnips and go and put them somewhere shady. As I've been working out here, I've made the executive decision that I won't be planting those seedlings out until a little bit later, so that'll be the last task that I do. Right, so I'm about to move this. It's not the most ideal location for this kind of structure, but it's a volunteer sweet pea and it needs some trellising, something to grow up. And this seems big enough that people will notice it in a very awkward position right there on the walkway. So I'm just going to lift this up and move it. And that can stand there-ish. We'll come back and fix that just now. But the real task over here is to harvest all these mustard greens. I am just going to pull them all out. Anything we don't eat, the chickens will. So I guess I'm just going to dive in here. So mustard greens are not our favorite, but we know they are a producer, and our garden was bare and we needed food to come in. So this was a good option. We do like the baby leaves a little bit more. I'm not sure if you can see it in the background. The chickens are already going crazy. They love the mustard greens. So I'm going to leave that one over there for chicken fodder, and we have a couple of smaller ones in pot plants behind where the camera is, against the wall. And those smaller ones we'll eat because we like the tender leaves. And this one here in the garden will just grow for chicken fodder. This, however, I do have a plan to preserve it because I don't want all my hard work and my growth to go to waste. Now, for a lot of people, they would leave the roots in. I'm not going to. Alright, so I don't really want my mustards to wilt too severely. So what I am going to do is I'm going to just put some water in this cooler box and stick them in there. So it's absolutely cooking out here, and I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I know I'm wearing a long sleeve, but that's actually for sun protection. I'm just cooking in this heat, so I'm going to go in, take a little bit of a break, and I'll come out when it's a little cooler just now. Right, so I think the first thing I need to do is reposition this stake or teepee, if you will, because this is the center of my sweet pea, and I do want to encourage it to grow up and around. And I want it to act as a barrier so nobody crushes the plant. Alright, so typically we wouldn't plant something vertical right here because it's in the armpit of the T in the walkway. And it's a little bit tricky when you're walking through here with a washing basket. But this was a volunteer and it's growing so beautifully. So I kind of just want to let it grow a bit more and see how it does. So I'm just going to take a piece of twine start somewhere here at the bottom and slowly work my way up as neatly as I can. Because honestly, I don't think I'm very good at this part of gardening. But it doesn't matter what it looks like now. When the plant starts growing up the twine, they won't really, you won't even see it. So let's hope we can get something going here. At least it looks alright. It's definitely not the ugliest thing I've built. Okay. Put its little lid back on. Now we can start threading the sweet peas. So I'm just going to do this vine by vine, essentially. Try and feed it up and along this little trellis so that its tendrils will hook on. No actual rhyme or reason, just trying to keep it as even as I possibly can. Yes, we will see what we get. This, in theory, should help it grow more vertically if it latches, if it prefers to latch, and it'll keep it out of the walkway, hopefully. I think time will tell. But all in all, I don't think it actually looks all that bad. So what I've done so far is I've done this little trellis and I've threaded some of the sweet peas there. The pillar sweet peas in the pot behind, I have trellised them somewhat, try to train them up. And now I just have this ladder section. So what I am going to do, however, with this ladder is go around the actual ladder itself and just hold everything up. And then I might add a few strings for it to climb further. These sweet peas are beautiful at the moment. They're growing so well. I just have other things in this pot, like these 3 little basils, and I need them to do a little bit better. And I think they're competing for the sun because the sweet peas are absolutely smothering them. So I may have to move them, I may not. We'll see how the season goes and how they develop. But for now, my main goal is just to gently persuade these sweet peas to grow more vertically. I am going to continue to add a few of these just so that the sweet peas have something to latch on. Because they don't naturally gravitate towards the wood, and we don't have string the whole way up here. And once it gets to this pillar, it can join on with the rest of the twine that's already here. I do think it looks a little bit neater. Hopefully everything's got a little bit more space to breathe now. It's going to be really pretty when it does flower. So now that it's cooled down, I can start looking at planting things. Here are my eggplants and my cucumbers. I've also grabbed the middle bucket of my worm farm. I want to add a little bit of this worm compost or castings into each hole with my eggplants so that they have a little bit more availability to nutrients as they're developing and settling. Okay, first things first, I'm just going to come around and pull out all of these weeds, whatever they may be. Everything must out. I'm going to plant the 3 eggplants here. So when my mom came out the other day, we went to the nursery and we got 2 trays of seedlings, 1 tray of eggplant and 1 with cucumber. And since they were in the same size tray, we literally just popped the seedling out and transferred them. So now I have my 3 eggplants and my other 3 are cucumbers, and my mom went home with the matching tray. So in this little hole, I'm going to take some of this worm castings. There are in fact worms in here. Doesn't matter. Having worms in the garden is a good thing. So I'm just going to give each one a little bit of worm castings and then cover it back up with the soil. Try and plant them as straight as possible so that their little stems grow upright. That could change for any given reason, but we try and give them the best start we possibly can. Last one. As you can see, there are already worms in the soil. It's nice to see. Just for a little bit of extra encouragement here, just going to stick this stick in the ground. And these little sticks are just adding minor support so that they have a more straight root to grow. Right, so I am planning on planting some tomatoes here. The plan was to grow 3. I will still probably plant 3 down the center here. 1 close enough to this pillar so that it can grow and we can maybe string it against there, and 2 in the front. Now the problem with this is we don't know if they're determinates or indeterminate, so we're kind of working on a hope and a prayer that they don't get too big in here. And we are going to string them at a later stage, so we're just going to have to figure out a method to drop and then raise that string again. But that honestly sounds like a Duncan problem for later. Let's go plant our cucumbers. Right, so I have 3 cucumbers, and I'm not 100% sure where I'm planting all 3, but I know 2 of them have homes. One of them I'm simply going to plant here, run a piece of twine up here to the fence. Once it hits the fence, it'll go crazy. And then I'll plant the other cucumber here out of chicken pecking zone in the hope that we can get it to attach to this part of the arch and it can grow its way up and over. Let's see what we can get going. Since there's a gap from where the soil is to the first rung here of string, I'm just going to add in one here at the bottom. I do want this cucumber to grab on as quickly as possible, because then they'll start growing a little bit faster. Some worm castings. So I'm actually going to plant my cucumber at an angle so that I can encourage it to find the twine and grow. While I'm here, I'm just going to pick up these wood chips and add them to the base because that'll help keep this cucumber well fed, well hydrated. Some worm castings. And our cucumber plant, again, I'm going to tilt it slightly, just like that. And then we're going to cover it up with the wood chips again. Lock that moisture in. And hopefully we have cucumbers soon. Right, so I'm coming along and I'm stealing these 2 tags here. Because just over here, amongst the kale is my pea. Now I'm going to run a set of strings. One for that pea and one for the pea I am going to plant nearby. I'm going to use those 2 tags as my anchors, if you will. This is such an awkward position to be in. It's not a lot of space to work with, but I want to make my garden as successful as possible. I'm pushing this white label down here next to my pea plant. And I'm going to cut a piece of twine. This twine is then going to be fastened underneath the label's head. And I'm just going to pull it up towards this fence. Back down again and up to a different point in the fence. Down to my second stake. And up to this fence. Now we start training the one, and then we plant the other. Alright, so as you can see, I've dug 4 little holes here for the 4 tomatoes in this container, so now I can start moving them. Again, with the planting of these, I am adding a bit of worm compost in to each of the little holes. So this is what we've ended up with, a couple of tomato plants. Now, we don't know what they are, but whatever grows, hopefully it'll be edible, and then we'll eat it. Guys, so that brings us to the end of today's video. I did some harvesting, I did some trellising and convincing. I even did a bit of planting, and hopefully this garden will grow into something beautiful this coming spring. So don't forget to like and subscribe and join us on that journey, and then you can be updated on the progress of our garden as well. Bye guys, have a fantastic weekend.